In this video, I want to talk to you about numbers targets and the big three. So the big three numbers targets that you want to look at setting as a bare ass minimum, also known as BAM, is your turnover, gross profit and net profit. And I do like to say that all roads lead to this number, and that's why I'm doing this video, because I just want to explain a bit more about that. So we're back in the zero file looking at the demo company, and we've got our profit and loss open. So those top three targets are going to be your sales target. So lots of different names for that. Yeah, sales, revenue, turnover, they're the main three. All mean the same thing. So sales. So you want to set that revenue target so you know what you're aiming for. Then you want to set this gross profit target. Really, really important, because the roads that lead back there realistically are from revenue and cost of sales. So that's really, really important. Set that. Then you want to also set your net profit target, because the roads that lead back there realistically include all your operational expenses, yeah? So when we set those targets, in respect of those roads leading back there, I want to explain what happens. So we set those three targets, and then when we go into monitoring, which we'll go into that a little bit more, but for now we'll try and stick fairly in the lane of targets. But setting those three targets means that if you don't achieve your revenue target, then you are going to just think about why that was. You know, is it that if you've got repeating customers, is it that your retention dropped off a bit, some people finished up? If it is around, you know, you sell widgets online, you've got an e-commerce business, what happened? Were you not top of Google? And that might relate to your advertising activities and that kind of thing. So in terms of that gross profit target, so if you don't hit your gross profit target, you're going to be thinking about your cost of sales, yeah? Realistically, let's say you are a restaurant and your turnover dropped because there was a big storm and the roof leaked and it impacted how much you could do, but you still had to pay your staff. You might have paid your staff the same kind of wages without the same revenue, and therefore your gross profit dropped, yeah? But there are lots of reasons, and you really need to be, when you're monitoring a gross profit target, you are naturally, so just by having these three targets, you are going to start to look at all the parts of the profit and loss. So your net profit target might be, let's say you didn't meet your net profit target, and you might say to yourself, oh yeah, I went and, I invested in rebranding. I've got a whole lot more in advertising that month. I kind of knew that would happen, and that's why. And you might say to yourself, now that's not an ongoing cost. I'm done with that. That won't happen next month. Voila, forecasting, okay? Like I say, this stuff forecasting sounds complicated, but it's really just the ability to look ahead. You know, is that an expense that's going to happen again next month? It could be anything. Rent went up. I had to buy some extra bits and pieces in the office. So, but you can see how three targets are going to help your eye be trained to various parts of the financials. And having those targets is going to help you come up with the right questions. So when we come up with the right questions, then we can start to understand how to find the answers, yeah? So just a couple of other targets that can be helpful, but usually the big three are the ones that you want to have. But rent as a percentage of turnover is really important. But once that's right, if your revenue is kind of the same or increasing or not dropping much very often, if your rent's on point, then you're good. If your rent is risky and it's higher as a percentage of turnover than it should be, just for an example, then you're going to be monitoring that, because you might have said to yourself, okay, well, rent's, let's say rent was 10% and you needed to be 6%. You might say, well, I'm pretty confident that turnover is going to go up. Let's monitor that, and let's just monitor the rent as a percentage of turnover, because that way, as the turnover goes up, the rent as a percentage of turnover is going to come down because it's a fixed cost, all right? For most businesses, the pain, if, let's say for service-based businesses, which we primarily work with service-based businesses, like trades and professional services, the pain is generally in wages as cost of sales is where they see their blowouts. Is mainly around the wages. That really affects the overall profitability of the business. So look, that is just a quick view of the big three targets that you need to set, and just making a little bit more sense of them.